Hello, everybody, and welcome back to How Was the Race? Today we have Sarah on. Sarah's a friend of mine. Her and I have been running together for many years. Actually, the first race I paced with her, and that race was in Music City. That was the Music City Marathon. We ran the half marathon, and that was way back many years. But since then, or including then and prior to then, she has ran over 80 half marathons, one full marathon, 31 states for halves. We together have ran, like I said, the Music City Marathon in Nashville, Tennessee, Asheville, Biltmore Estates half marathon, Derby Marathon, Air Force Marathon, Urban Bourbon, also in Louisville, Go St. Louis, which is now Greater St. Louis Outdoor Festival, something or another. But everybody still calls it Go St. Louis because that's how the world works. Detroit International Marathon, we ran the domestic half together, which, by the way, that's a nice way to get in a half that starts a little bit later in the day. So if your friends are going and running the full international and you don't want to wake up that dang on early, the domestic half starts about 2 or 3 hours later. Have fun with that one. The Mo Cowbell we ran together, that's outside of St. Louis in a town called St. Charles, Missouri. And we ran the Chickamauga Battlefield in Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia, which is just a short drive, about 10 minutes from Chattanooga, Tennessee. So that is a very long amount of races I feel that we've ran together. And we've ran some of those many times together. Uh, Anyhow, we will be featuring Fell Asleep Like This from Short Story Brewery. Short Story, it's a 12% stout, coffee stout that's barrel aged in bourbon barrels, coming from, like I said, Short Story Brewery. Short Story Brewery is located in a suburb of Charleston, West Virginia. And we want to be we're going to give that 4 out of 5 medals. We're going to sit back and enjoy that while we speak on the Marshall Marathon. Marshall Marathon is in Huntington, West Virginia. It is a half and full. And today we're on, well, I believe there's also a 5K feature there as well. But today we're going to be talking about the half marathon, as the full is a double loop course. But Sarah, how did you first hear about the Marshall Marathon?
Yeah, so I did it back in 2018. I know that it had gotten some good reviews just because it was flat in West Virginia, which is hard to find. My brother lived for a long while in Blacksburg, Virginia, so Huntington's a city we passed on 64 driving from Louisville, and it was a kind of had a unique finish on the football field. So it was a race that I had reached out to the race director back in 2018 and looked to see if they needed pacers, and they had an opening, and so I was able to run the race. It was just a short drive from Louisville, and yeah, so I did it in 2018 and paced it, and then I just went back this past year in 2025 and got the opportunity to pace again.
Okay. As a little side note, as I've said in many other episodes, the subtitle for this show is Tangents. Um, when you message, okay, because I assume you did more like a cold, I call it a cold call, but I don't know if that's the right term. When you just message the contact us here, what do you normally, for those that are interested in pacing and have not done so, what do you normally throw in to kind of kind of get get the bend the ear of the person?
Sure. I mean, I think first of all, I would encourage anybody out there listening who has a desire to help others. It does not matter. People always assume, oh, you must be really fast. Do you pace? And it's like, no, no, you don't have to be fast. This past
No.
weekend, this I've paced anywhere from a 2 hour half to a 3 hour half, which I did this past weekend. But no, I think when I'm emailing the race directors or the contact us, I'm kind of just introducing myself and saying, this is I've run so many races, or I've paced so many events in the past. I would love to have the opportunity to help runners at your race. These are, kind of the pace groups I feel comfortable pacing, and certainly just let them know that I'm available. if they need it. And I think, the earlier you reach out, the better. I've reached out very early in the past, and some race directors or pace coordinators are like, I haven't even reached out to my previous year's pacers yet. But,
Mhm.
I think that if it's a race you want to do or race you want to pace, I think if you're persistent, or just let them know that, you can let me know this past, past month, I found out the week before the race that I was going to have an opening to pace Marshall for 3 hours, and I was willing to do that. So I think just being willing to pace a group that you're comfortable with, that helps them out in the long term if they have a last minute need.
Yes. Okay. I just wanted to throw that out there because I, I I felt it warranted it. Um,
Sure.
Tangents. Okay, do you recall? Do you recall the process for registration, or was it just so smooth that it just unremarkable?
Yeah, I think it was Run Sign Up, or one of the accounts that I had previously used, that I was able to just kind of log in and, fill out the information, confirm it, and yeah, I think it was a pretty simple process.
Okay. Um, so getting to the race, because this race, um, I don't think I listed it. I don't think I listed it in the intro, but I too have ran this race. We didn't run it together,
Mhm.
obviously. Well, we didn't run it together, but we did run it, and I assume it's the same course. We'll
Mhm.
get to that later on. Um, was the Where was the expo for this race held? Was it still held in the, I believe it was a basketball arena or something when I went?
So that is not where it was this year. It was at a local church, kind of in like their gym area. And I want to say it's the same location as it was when I went in 2018. But I'm not sure. They might have had, changes through the years, but it was probably, oh, I don't know, maybe a 5-minute drive from the football stadium. So not super far away. I mean, it was probably a, 2-3 mile drive. Um, but yeah, that's where the expo and packet pickup was the day before.
Okay, I think I remember there being like a basketball type place, so it might
Okay.
have still been that same church.
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember back. Um, Heck, I'm trying to find it. I'm trying to think back now. 8 years, 9 years.
sure.
Yeah.
You've run a race or two since then. It's okay. I just did this a couple weeks ago, so it's a little fresher in my mind.
Oh, okay. That makes it a little bit easier to recall. Okay. Um, so being at the expo, how was how was the options there? I remember I think that was the first time I actually bought. I don't think it was the first time I heard of Tailwind, but I think that's the first time
Mhm.
I bought Tailwind. Um, how was the expo this year as far as the vendor setup? The Say you forgot something at home, would you most likely be able to get what you need?
Yeah, I think it was a pretty smooth process. They had all the tables, you just went up and gave them your last name and or bib number, and they were able to give you your bib. You got your shirt at the table. They had a few other West Virginia races that had tables there set up with information, and then a local running store had a small area where you could get, shorts, shirts, shoes, goos, kind of your basic running stuff. So I wouldn't say there was like a huge selection, but there was certainly, like, if you needed something, you could find it there.
Okay, and that's always because as we travel for these races, we
Mhm.
tend to forget a water bottle, water bottles, maybe nutrition,
Sure.
maybe socks. I don't know.
Yeah. No, they had a vendor there, and then they also had, I guess the race had like previous year's merchandise set up as well. So like you could buy, a running shirt from last year's Marshall Marathon or something too.
Oh, okay, that'd be nice.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you finished the race the year before or a few years prior, and then you want to commemorate that for whatever reason. That'd be a
Sure.
nice place to get that done, or a
Yeah.
nice way. Okay. Um. So okay, that brings us from the expo. Did the race offer same day packet pickup or?
So they do, you could purchase it as an add-on during your registration for like packet pickup, race day morning. Um, I know I know they said on their website that if like, and I saw this kind of on, their Facebook or, social media prior to, people, we've been there, right? Your flight gets delayed or you're running behind because of traffic. So they do like a, I guess, emergency if you don't make packet pickup, but you didn't select race day pickup in the morning, they will give you your bib race morning, but you forfeit any, like you don't get your shirt, that type of
Oh,
thing. So that
okay.
all becomes like property of the race. Um, so I think those are the options that you have for race day, like race morning packet pickup.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to have. I have race shirts I can no longer fit, and I go to bed and dream about fitting these shirts again. Um, but I still don't throw them away. So it's not that I don't enjoy my race shirts. However, the end of the world is not having a race shirt.
Sure, sure. And you could always purchase it later if if you
Oh
want.
yeah.
So, that's an option too, because they had them available for purchase at the finish line. But I think, it's something where, I think packet pickup ended at maybe 6 the night before. So it is something like logistically, if you're traveling in for, you have to kind of think about or plan ahead for.
Ooh,
So
packet.
just
I'm sorry. You say packet pickup ended around 6 p.m.?
I believe so. Yes, it was
Oh,
either 6 or 7. So it was relatively early because I know we had talked about doing this race in previous years, but my husband being the Louisville football fan that he is, we never knew what time the football game would be that Saturday before to plan on whether we could get to Huntington by packet pickup end. So this year Louisville was away, and so we decided this was the year we were gonna go do Marshall together. So
okay. And that is one thing that I did not note in the intro as well, that this is a fall race and it's a Sunday race.
it is,
Um,
yes. Yeah, and I think it's typically around the first weekend in November, but I think they might have a tentative date out there already for next year, but I think it is subject to Marshall's football schedule because as you and I both know, you do finish on their football field on Sunday morning. So it's a kind of a cool thing, and I think they try to coordinate maybe when they're on the road just to help with logistics.
Speaking of being at the race and being at the stadium, getting to the start line, which is
Mhm.
because this race it's a loop course. The half is a loop and the full is a double loop. Um, the getting to the start line, how early did you have to arrive? I know your husband was there with you. I don't know if he dropped you off, which could change the issues with parking. How was getting to the start line?
It was actually once we got there, it was incredibly easy. Like if you are traveling from out of town, the logistics race morning are very, very easy because the start line is literally right outside the huge parking lot. So free race day parking. We did get there early because roads start to close. I want to say we stayed in an Airbnb, not like right downtown Huntington, but maybe 15-minute drive away. And I think we got into the parking lot about 6:15 for a 7 a.m. race start. And I was pacing, so I wanted to be there early, but that gave us enough time. We were in our parking spot. The football stadium is open before the race, so that's really nice because there's a lot of bathrooms that you can use. And then, like I said, we were able to kind of stay in our car. This race isn't huge. I think they had about 2,100 registered for the half full and the 3.25 mile race that they have. So a little over a 5K. But we were literally able to sit in our cars. Well, I got out a little earlier, but I think my husband stayed in until like 5 minutes before because it was chilly and got out and got in there was no corrals. It just got in at where he needed to, kind of lined up with the pacer and was off. So yeah, as long as you get to the parking lot early, like you will be super happy. There's no gear check because literally your cars are right there outside the finish line. But yeah, it's all right there, which is great.
Okay. That's having full flush toilets at the start of a race. That's just next level. Not I
Yeah.
mean I understand why every race can't offer that. It's hard for say Chicago. Chicago has 45,000 people and it starts in the middle of a park. Um, there's just not the facilities nearby. You're not going to build the facilities for 45,000 people for a one day's
Right.
event. It doesn't make that'd be silly. But when we have that opportunity, my gosh, it's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I really wish Derby, because Derby Marathon starts right in front of the Louisville Bats, which is a AAA baseball team affiliated with is part of the Reds organization. Um, I really wish that they could open up but most of their bathrooms are further into the concourse and
Mhm.
not there because the way that Marshall is, they can open up their bathrooms, but not. You can still be gated from these seats.
It was all open, so you could like go out and kind of look, and they had the field and the finish line set up already. But yeah, I mean, it's just you're right. You could go on the concourse, and you there's plenty of bathrooms because they're used to having them for all the football fans. So yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It's really nice.
So, okay, so the race, the gun goes off, and everything. Um, how is the how because the course there, well, Marshall itself is not a booming metropolis. Or I'm sorry, not Marshall. Marshall's the college.
Huntington.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Huntington is not a booming metropolis, but how is the course? How does it start out? How's the first, 5 miles or so?
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, it's a relatively flat course. You're not going to have any major hills on this course, but you kind of run away from the stadium and kind of loop through downtown. There's a few, kind of little historic areas with some houses which are pretty. Then you probably run out, oh, maybe a half mile, then you kind of loop back towards the stadium, and that's pretty, kind of just running downtown Huntington, past fast food chain restaurants and stuff. Decent amount of spectators through those first early miles because it is relatively close to the football stadium. And then you kind of, about mile 2, you loop back around by the football stadium and pass it before you kind of shoot out west, I guess, towards the river. You do a short little stint along the river. You don't have a ton of views from the river because there's kind of a flood wall up for part of it, but that gets you through kind of mile 3, and then you just keep going out again, kind of past some historic houses. And somewhere, oh, probably mile 5, I'd say, is kind of when you start, coming back. One thing and I'm not sure, I think they did change the course slightly between 2018 and 2025 when I just ran it. Um, we ran through a park for a good chunk of the second half of the course. I think 2 different parks, maybe a Memorial Park and Ritter Park. Which was really pretty. It definitely it's, first weekend in November in West Virginia, you've got a lot of leaf changing colors and really, pretty trees in the park, so that was nice. But it was all relatively flat. A lot of aid stations, I don't feel like there was ever a point in time where I didn't every mile and a half there was aid stations, which was nice. But yeah, the second half of the course definitely, was definitely more park than anything. And there was a short bit where you ran on kind of a packed gravel path, but otherwise it was all asphalt and easy running. I mean, there were a lot of PRs the day I ran it because it is a a flat course, and the weather was really, really perfect, at least this year. So, yeah. And then you obviously kind of the highlight of the course is the finish. If you're a football fan or you've ever wanted the opportunity to finish in a football stadium, this is your race because, as you come back towards Marshall University, you'll kind of run by campus. I know the full marathon, I think they must do something on the double loop where they go more through the campus or pass by the fountain that memorializes their football team. And so on the half course, you don't pass that area of campus, but you do kind of pass the outskirts of it. So you kind of finish up by the football stadium, and then you come into the stadium, lots of excitement, and they give you a football and you run it in.
Yes, that is for those unfamiliar, by the way, because you mentioned the memorial for memorializing the football team. Back in 1970, they the Marshall University football team was on a plane and the plane crashed. Um, 75 people on board had died. Sorry, passed, died. 37 football players, about 8 coaches, and 25 boosters. It was on a aircraft crash. Um, so there's there's a football team. I'm sorry, there's a movie called We Are Marshall that you might be more familiar with, and that is document. I don't want to say documenting, but that is based on the team. So or yeah, the two are related. So just for those unfamiliar, that's where the memorial for the football team would come in at. Um, I do remember. I remember being on that hard pack. I call it a hard pack because it's that
Mhm.
gravel, but the gravel's not really
Yeah,
shifting a lot.
right. It is. It's a packed path. It's nothing to concern yourself with.
No,
From a non-trail runner, I would not be concerned.
I looked it up. I ran that course back in 19, and I ran a 2:15 half, and so that's a 10:15 average per mile. I only bring that I only bring my time up because to let you get a reference for how much I'm pushing off of my the push off the step. So it's not like on the gravel that I was overly concerned with slipping and fall. Not don't sue me if you fall. I ain't responsible for that. But I'm just saying in my experience and in Sarah's experience, we were able to push off at a decent. She was pacing 3, but she also ran it several years back at 17. You ran it probably closer to like a 2 or 2:15, probably, right?
I paced 2:15. Yeah.
Okay. I think I took over your no, because you did it in 17. I did it in 19.
Yeah.
So I didn't take your spot that year. Or not take your spot. I didn't take over for your spot because I would not have bumped you out. But coming in, and it is really nice coming into the stadium. You come down that ramp and you go out to the 50. They give you a ball and you go out to the 50. You make a right, and you come back across the the 0 yard line, entering the end zone. Unfortunately, you don't get to keep that ball.
Right. Right.
I wish you were. That'd be pretty fun.
Yeah.
But that was a unique finish. That doesn't
Sure.
happen too often.
Right. Right.
So, and then like you said, the aid stations about a mile and a half apart, which is about a standard. Do you remember what
Mhm.
nutrition they had on course?
Yeah, so they had water and your favorite tailwind.
Nice,
Actually was
nice.
thinking as I was, drinking this, because the first couple stations were like, "Oh, Powerade or electrolytes or whatever," and then at some point they did say, like, Tailwind, and I was like, "Okay, I knew this was something different." Um, I'm not sure I'm a fan, but, that's what they had as far as nutrition. This is a race that does not offer, I don't think on the think it is true of the full as well. There is no goo, so no nutrition of that type. So, and they did have like a sign at the expo, like this is a bring your own goo type of race. So, um, just plan ahead. I think that, that's kind of one of my things that Derby doesn't do it either on the half course as well. And it's one of my things on my post race survey every year. I say, I think that you should have an aid station that has goos at mile 8 or mile 9 because, we all try to plan ahead, but, you don't, or you drop one. And then you get in your head that you think you need one and you don't have the opportunity to grab one on the course. So I don't know, just my 2 cents. I always put it on the post race survey, but they are very upfront about it. So just plan ahead and bring your own.
I mean, at least if you know at the expo
Sure.
that you can buy some, I assume at the
Right.
expo.
Right.
So we have that.
You have that. Yes. Just don't drop it while you're running. Or
No.
plan on going back for it.
Did I tell you? I don't know if I told you about when I did Mo Cowbell. I think in the first 3 miles, probably the first 3 miles, I probably got like 8 to 12 goos. They were
Yeah.
just and whoever's listening, if you're grossed out by this, you've never dealt with shipping. I put them in my pockets. I didn't eat them, but then when I got home, I rinsed them off. Well, washed them off, whatever, and they're still sealed. So like they're just as good as every other goo packet you will ever find.
Absolutely. Yes.
And I think I got a caramel one that day. It was I actually used that caramel one this past weekend for Monumental. So
Yeah, you're right. There's plenty on the ground that you pass, and when you're pacing 3 hours, there's lots of time to look around and scope. And there's lots of packets that can be dropped ahead of you. Really, is more like it. So
so much stuff we can gather.
yes.
Which yes. Now this year, so you come across the finish line right there at the end zone. I don't know, you maybe do a Dion dance, maybe you just spike the ball. I don't know. You celebrate it however you want to celebrate. Just make sure you don't block the people behind you. Just move to the side and have
Absolutely.
fun. But
Yes.
at the 3 hour, with this race, at the 3 hour group, you have some marathoners coming in.
Yes, yes. We definitely had some marathoners pass us early on. And the marathoners have to do a little out and back that like we didn't have to do on our half marathon course too. So, um, but yeah, we definitely had some marathoners finishing with us, which was cool, and inspiring, right? Like you see these athletes running past you, and certainly, as the 3 hour, there is a little out, or I guess the marathoners doing their second loop. We passed a lot of them, at mile maybe 16, 17 at that point. So, good to pass along the encouragement because, I don't know the exact breakdown, but as you know, the second loop of the marathon's a lot lonelier than the first loop when you have all your half,
It,
marathoners with you. So,
I've never been lonelier than when I turned off of the half marathon onto the marathon, and I was like, oh my gosh, where are all my
yeah.
friends?
Yeah. So it's a nice opportunity, like with us being kind of more back of the pack for the half marathon to give those marathoners the encouragement and support that they needed. So yeah.
Yes. Okay, so you get the medal. What was the medal like this year?
It was nice. It had kind of it was full color, pretty solid design in terms of like it had the football field. And then in the center it kind of had the thundering herd, the mascot for the Marshall University on a spinner in the middle. So kind of had your football field and then like a little skyline, I guess, of Marshall University along the bottom. And yeah, it was a nice medal. Definitely good quality, and um it was nice.
Okay. So you go across, you get your medal, you go back to your car's right there at the parking lot because that having that stadium there is really, really wonderful. That you don't have to walk 3/4 of a mile or something
Absolutely.
ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really nice. Um, there's so much about these smaller races. that are I don't want to say overlooked because the large races just don't have the same um abilities. They don't have the same things that these
Yes.
smaller races are able to utilize. So don't I mean if you're out there and you're thinking about different races, the small races, don't overlook them because they really have some amazing opportunities, perks that they
Yeah, and I think sometimes people get like, "Oh gosh, there's only 2,000 people. Maybe I'm going to be running by myself." And I certainly didn't ever feel like that on the course, even being, kind of towards the back of the half marathon finishers. And I'm with you, Miguel. Like, there's just something to be said, especially when you're traveling from out of town for like easy race day logistics. Like, okay, I don't have to battle 20,000 people, like I'm going to a big city race. And I think sometimes the smaller races, like they offer high quality production. It was a great, really from start to finish, very easy. I'll say, on the football field, like after the race, they had waters right there. You got your medal. They had, volunteers they had free post race massages right there. They had, where you could get if you had won an award, like it was right there. I mean, everything was just easy. There's something to be said for that, certainly.
okay. How did you now I have to ask because I have one of I throw out things to different local businesses or somebody I try to shout out. So far I've done that for I don't know how many every episode I throw out a few. I'm sponsored by nobody, so I can promote whomever I want or talk trash about whoever I want. But there's a podcast, and the host of this podcast, it's called Sawbones, and it's a misguided medical tour. A misguided, yeah. Either way, it's a tour of misguided medical history. That's what it is, and they're based out of Huntington, and they talked about Jolly Pirate Donuts. Is there any chance that you celebrated by going to Jolly Pirate Donuts? Please say yes.
I wish, I
Oh,
wish. And if I would have known this beforehand, I would have made an extra effort to make that happen. But I think I saw it. Maybe I saw it on a map. Maybe it was by our Airbnb. We did not celebrate with that. Unfortunately, we did. I'll give a shout out to, I think it was the Elks Lodge that maybe was doing the post race food after the race, but my goodness, they had burgers and hot dogs and beer of all kinds that you could just enjoy on the property. Chocolate milk, pretzels, cookies, chips, like it was all there. And being a 3-hour finisher, it was still all there for me. And so that was great. But yeah, we went to, I'm trying to think, it was Oscars maybe the night before that had burgers, and it was, right when the World Series was going on. So yeah, they had a ton of beer on tap and great food, and we were able to watch the baseball game with a bunch of other people. And so I'll give a shout out to them because they did. That was a good place to check out.
okay. That's nice that you use it. Yeah, that's real nice. So, having that food there once again.
Yeah,
Um,
small race, like,
yeah.
I'll always take some warm food after a race. I mean, the bagels are fine, the bananas are fine, but
Um, when you did Fort Chickamauga or Chickamauga Battlefield, Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia, uh, did they have food out for you there?
yes, I do remember. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah, I
thought I was at
remember.
Sunday lunch.
I know. I think they had quite the spread. Maybe some banana pudding that was like
Yes.
good. Yes, yeah, it was all the southern cooked food, and yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The foodie
I
side of me comes out.
I was talking to somebody, I forget who I was talking to about it. And I was like, when you do races, you need to hit up Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia. You need to do that one because I was like, don't get me wrong, Publix is a great race. Atlanta Marathon Publix, it's in February. It's a really great race, really laid out well, whatever. I'll give it to you there. It's historical, blah 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 blah. Um, Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia, Chickamauga Battlefield. Oh my gosh, just the food was just something else.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay, so since you didn't go to Jolly Roger or Jolly Pirate, um, did you? So, how did you celebrate before you headed out of town?
We kind of hung out around the stadium at the post race. There was plenty of people around there, so like I said, they had pretty much, drink what you want, and had the beer there right there at the finish, and then yeah, we got back to the Airbnb after that, and then got some cookout, which is the food of, I guess, the southeast, where they've got the milkshakes of, put as many toppings in as you want. Um,
Huh.
Tell me you've not been to a cookout, Miguel.
I Isn't that one of the Yum brand? That's the only burger of Yum brands.
I don't think it's owned by Yum, but there's
I've never.
they're in North Carolina, South Carolina. I was first introduced to it by my brother in Virginia. And he
Okay.
explained it as like you get a lot of food for a very low price, which in a college town where he was at was just, key, because it's essentially like you get a meal, like a burger or whatever, chicken
Yeah.
sandwich, and you get two sides with your meal, but like your sides can be another burger or like a a corn dog or, something crazy. And so then you also, with your meal, you get a drink, but you can like, sub it out for a milkshake. And you essentially can get whatever and any topping that you want in said milkshake. So I always have to make a stop at Cookout when we're by one, which is what we did on the way back from Huntington. And I enjoyed my milkshake, and my husband put up with it because he's not a huge fan of Cookout. But it's like I'm not a huge fast food person, but I can do some Cookout. That's for sure.
Oh man, cookout. I I would have to ask my girlfriend, but think I think we might because I pulled it up the website and I'm seeing the
Mhm.
artwork and such and their
Yes,
packaging.
yes, yes.
When I ran um the in Greenville, South Carolina, the ghost pepper, I think it's called the ghost pepper, um, half and full. It's in July. It's the hottest day of the year, or it's it's the same day as the um Badwater 135. So it's in July. Badwater 135 goes from uh that lake that's underwater. Well, it used to be a lake. It's no longer a lake. Death Valley. It goes from Death Valley, Utah to Mount Whitney Summit portal. Um, so the lowest part to the highest part in the contiguous U.S. It's the same day that out in Greenville, South Carolina, there is a half and a full, and the half starts. It's in July, I believe it is, like third weekend of July, and the half starts at 1 in the afternoon,
Okay.
and
Yeah, that.
it started around 98 degrees, and it went up to like
Oh
103.
man. Oh man. Yeah. No, thank you. No, thank you. You should have probably gotten all the Cookout milkshakes if you did that.
Oh, that
Oh
race was
man.
amazing.
Oh man.
Yeah, okay, but I will be in Charlotte, North Carolina this coming weekend, and
You'll have to
I
stop
will.
at Cookout and let me know.
Yes, I
Yes.
will. I will definitely
Yes.
keep an eye out for cookout. That might be my post race meal. That
Yeah, it's a great, yeah, you get all the carbs and all the goodness.
Yes, that's the best part. But that's another great part about doing these races is that we have an excuse to like, hey,
Right.
I just got to got to
Refill.
replenish. Yeah,
Refill. Yes,
refill.
exactly. Oh
Oh,
man.
so okay. Well, normally I would ask, would you do this race again? However, you have now done this race twice, so implicitly you would. But would you, just to make sure, and would you do it a third time and a fourth?
Sure. Yeah. I think, my husband and I talked about it, and he has heard me talk about this race for several years. For me, essentially telling him, like, you would enjoy this race. We should go do this race together. And, I asked him the same thing after the after we finished it, and I asked him, "Would you do this race again?" And he said, "Sure." I mean, it helps that we are a little less than a 3-hour drive from it, but I certainly would. It's well organized, and I think there's a lot of perks to it. And yeah, it's a flat course, so if you're looking to run a fast time, it certainly would be coming would be highly recommended. Yeah.
All right. Now, moving on to the not necessarily this race related, but running in general. What shoes do you run in?
I run in Asics Gel Nimbus, and I have since like my junior year of high school.
Uh,
I think I ran my sophomore year in like Nikes or New Balance or something, and I just hurt very badly. And so, yeah, I think when I started running in the Nimbuses, it was like on the version 9. I think they're up to like 25 or 26 now. So yeah, we go way back, but yeah, they work for my feet, so I'm happy with that.
okay. So you have that. What what watch do you use now?
I've got the Garmin. It's the Vivo Active 4S. So it's nothing fancy. It's just a pretty basic GPS watch. I've had it for a while. I'm not big into I mean, I keep track of my runs and my pace, but I'm not, I don't need all the bells and whistles, I guess, on the fancier watches. So it's a pretty bare bones watch, but it does the trick.
Okay. I asked that question, those two questions of everybody. I run in, I'm looking over, I see some Hokas, some Brooks, some Mizunos, and I see a pair of Nikes that I ran in once. Um, on my watch right now. Oh, and I see some Asics. I don't know if I said that before or not. On my watch right now, and I have a Garmin 965. My son earlier today, I was looking at his wrist because it was lighting up for whatever reason, and he has my former, well, he has my whatever, formerly my watch, whatever, Phoenix 6X, which no kid should be wearing a freaking former $1,000 watch, but I bought the watch. I no longer use it. He enjoys it, and yeah, actually, it's a really good watch for golf, and he plays golf now as well. So that watch actually does things for golf that my watch doesn't do, but that's a different story. What I'm getting at is that Sarah and I, we both run in shoes that fit our feet, and we don't run in the same shoes. Her and I did pace side by side in several races. We ran by side, paced side by side for several races. Um, I don't know who does more miles per year, and to be honest, it really doesn't matter um, that much. But we both run in shoes that fit our feet, and we both wear a watch that we wanted to have more or less. I don't know. Maybe if you gave me, I mean, there's a new one out, Garmin, that's like $1,800. It looks pretty cool, whatever. But I don't know if they gave me that for free. Garmin, if
Right,
they gave me that
right.
for free,
If they told me it was going to last for the rest of my life and then some
yes,
lifetime upgrades, I don't know.
then I would
Yeah,
maybe.
that's an
But
investment.
yeah, but at the same time, I mean, uh, don't don't feel that you need $1,000 watch or a $600 watch. Or I was speaking to a friend who she actually paced to Chicago. She paced the Chicago Marathon wearing a I don't remember if it's an Armatron or a Timex or I forget the other brand that's out there, but a basic $20 watch from Walmart.
Mhm.
And she had the pace band and she had a stopwatch, and that's
Mhm.
all she had. And she she came in, she knew her body really well, but she came in on time with the $20 watch.
Mhm.
Um, I was speaking to Heather recently. I interviewed her. We went over the Glass City Marathon, and she uses her phone, as
Mhm.
does Brandon from another episode that we have. So whatever shoes fit your feet, whatever watch timing device you currently have, that's all you need to get started. and probably go a really long way in this journey of running. Um,
Yeah, I would second that. I think, I'll speak to, I got the opportunity to pace the 3-hour group, and I'm just going to give a plug for the back of the pack because they're running the same distance that the first finisher runs. And I think it's always inspiring to kind of hear the stories, of the people that are with you. And um, I think there's a lot to be said for like still finishing a half marathon. It doesn't matter if you're the fastest or the last finisher there, you are completing something that not a lot of people do. And I think that's, inspiring. And hopefully if you're out there listening, every step forward, I always say this, if every step you take is further than you're lapping the people on the couch. So
yeah.
like you said, Miguel, I don't think don't put too much thought into the watch or the shoes. Like just if you have the desire to go out there and run, that's really all you need.
Okay. Um, I don't want to. I don't want to lead you into that being your final statement or your closing statement, but what would you want to leave? I mean, if it is that's something great to leave people on, but I also don't want to lead the witness. Um, what would you? Is there anything else? Is there? I mean, as a pacer, um, and I say this even though I've interviewed many pacers, almost almost everybody on this show has paced. Other than Aaron, I believe. Um, I believe it was Aaron. He might. I don't think he has pace, but I'm trying to pull him over to our side. But everybody else is pacers. So as pacers, most of us have insights and knowledge, and we want you to succeed. That is, I mean, we're giving up. We're giving up our goals, or we're shifting our goals, or we're achieving other
Mhm.
goals that we have.
Right, right.
Because I can only I'll probably won't PR again for the full until a lot of things change in life.
Mm.
I'm over an hour behind my PR for my full, and I'm over an hour behind my PR for the half. So, but I can help you PR.
Absolutely. Yeah,
So,
I think
so
that yeah, I mean, I think you said it. You shift your priorities, and it's like I feel like I get more out of pacing than running a race, these days. I think it's great. When I ran this past couple weeks ago, there was a guy who he was celebrating his 65th birthday, and he said it had been a long time since he broke 3 hours in the half marathon. And he finished, 2:59 or whatever. There was somebody who ran with me who had been training but signed up for the race 3 days prior, because he was peer pressured into it by family members. And I've paced races before, kind of in that 3 hour, 3:15 range, where like I've run with amputees and I've run with people who have come from all walks of life. And I think the commonality in it is that we are all runners. We're all runners. We're all there to accomplish something. And I think I tell my pace group, like, we all know, right? Like miles 8, 9, 10, wherever it is in your head that you kind of get stuck and you're like, oh my gosh, this sucks. Why am I doing this? Like, where's the finish line? It's still so far away. And it's like, when it gets tough and when it gets deep and when your brain thinks it can't do it anymore, you've got to trust your legs, and you've got to remember, like, remember your why. Remember your why. Why are you out there? Right? Everybody's got a different answer. And it doesn't matter what your answer is. It's what is important to you. So I think that's the biggest thing as pacers, is that we try to make sure everybody in our group remembers their why, and that will help get them to the finish line regardless of the conditions. So yeah,
okay.
I do. I love pacing. So
Yes, yes, I get so I'm gonna edit this part out. Um, I get so antsy in the pantsy when I go to a race and I'm not a pacer, and
right.
I'm like,
Right.
what do I? How do I be a normal runner? Like,
Right. Right. Yes. Yes. Yes, it's a different way of running, but yeah.
It really. I ended up in Chicago back in 22. Yeah, Chicago 22. I was just running my own, just out there on my own, and I was doing my own intervals. I wasn't, counting down for everybody, or I still did a little wave above your head to let people behind me know I was about to stop running, but nothing special, just going about my biz. And I was at mile like 20 or no, I was around 19, I think it was. Uh, and I stopped. And this lady, I did my little thing, and this lady said, "Oh, I'll see you in a second." I said, "Huh?" And she goes, "Oh, I've been with you for the last 15 miles. You've been doing intervals this whole time. I've been using you. I know you're going to see me again in a second when you start running again." I was like, "Holy shit!" Like I didn't even realize that other people was watching my intervals, and
Right, right.
it's
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
okay. Uh, okay. So before we go back to editing, or going back to what I'm going to cut out, is that what you wanted to? Is that something you want to end on, or do you want to end on something a different note, or is that fine?
I think that's good.
Okay. So you were talking about that. Da, 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 da. Okay. So it's really, and we appreciate that. I think other people do appreciate that. They don't always realize, but and that and it's not about us, but they do appreciate the fact that we are, as pacers, and all the pacers out there, they appreciate the fact that we're out there to help get them to achieve their goals.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
but again, Sarah, I really appreciate you coming on. Really appreciate you being there, for the show and giving me your time. I know you have a lot of things going on because, well, one, you're human, so that's just how we work. But um, as a friend, I know a little bit about your life, and so I know you're a busy person, and I do appreciate your time, and I appreciate you coming on the show and sitting down with me and giving me this time. Uh, for those out there, I want you to. I'll almost always forget to tell people to like, subscribe, share it with a friend, share it with a partner, share it with a running partner, share it with family members, share it wherever you can share it. I don't care. Log into your friends, grab your friend's phone and have them subscribe. Like, and then have them like the show as well on certain apps. You can like my show. So like, comment, share, subscribe. If you don't subscribe, your goose will fall out of your waist pack, and I will not give them back to you. Okay, I might give them back to you. Let's be honest. I'm not that mean. But you will lose your goose, temporarily at least. So, but do remember to run the race that you're in, and forward is a pace.